So Star Wars Outlaws was obviously revealed way back at Ubisoft Forward in June, roughly about 2 or so months ago now, and surprisingly we've actually had a lot of news on the game since then for a game that is meant to be launching next year. So it's actually sort of made me think the game could be launching a lot earlier than we expected, and today I pretty much just wanted to go over all of my thoughts on that and why I think that might be the case. If you are interested in Star Wars Outlaws, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. I'll be covering any and all news leading up to the launch of the game, but with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. Now, like I said, the game was announced in June and it was aiming for a 2024 release, and I kind of just initially assumed it'd probably be September, October, November of 2024. Now, the reason I think that is that generally most of the big AAA games, that is sort of the window of the year when they're aiming to launch, and the reason for that is essentially just because that is the time of year when most people are going to spend more money. It's leading into Christmas. They're most likely going to be buying gifts for people, buying gifts for their kids and stuff like that, and so you kind of get a big bunch of initial sales because anytime a game launches, it's obviously going to sell well, regardless if it's in bloody January or November. But a couple of months after that game launches, you've then got the Christmas period where people are probably going to be buying the game again. It's why a lot of big games launch in that time of year, and it's realistically why anything launches in that time of year, not just in the gaming industry, but just across pretty much any industry in the world. Everyone knows that that is the time of year when most people are probably going to spend a little bit more money than earlier on in the year. Now, keep in mind that the actual initial announcement of the game, not the actual reveal of the title or anything, but just the fact that Massive Entertainment were working on this game, that was in January of 2021, and that is coming up on nearly 3 years ago now. So it has definitely been in the works for some time. It's not like they've just started working on it recently and they've just announced it early. The game has definitely been in development for, say, roughly 3 years now. Now, at Ubisoft Forward, they also had the 10-minute sort of gameplay showcase, and that right there is another show of confidence that the game is very well into its development. If it was launching in like 18 months from now, for example, or I guess 18 months from when they announced it, it's pretty rare that they're going to have that much gameplay ready at that point. It's not impossible, we've seen it in the past, but generally speaking, having 10 minutes of gameplay handy means the game is, getting closer to the end of development than obviously the start of development. So the fact they had the 10-minute gameplay showcase ready at that point is definitely a very good sign. Initially, I didn't really think anything of it because, like I said, I just thought it was going to be launching late 2024. But the more that I think about it, that is probably a really good sign that, like I said, it is fairly well into its development. Now, the main thing that has made me sort of change my mind from thinking it would be late 2024 is that we've heard so many things about the game since it was revealed in June, more than you would probably expect this early on in the game's dev cycle. Like I said, if the game's launching in, say, October of 2024, it's pretty damn early to be getting multiple interviews and even like a press kit focused on Star Wars Outlaws. That is definitely not normal behavior when it comes to the gaming industry. Couldn't tell you the last time I've seen a game release a press kit, say 18 months before the game came out. That is a pretty rare thing, and in fact, at least from my own memory, I can't remember a game ever releasing a press kit that early. Usually that kind of thing is in the 3 months, maybe 6 months leading up to a game. So the fact they've given us a press kit, they've given us multiple interviews, they've given us 10 minutes of gameplay, it is all kind of pointing that maybe the game is actually closer than we initially thought. Now, obviously, they don't have to follow the general, I guess, industry standard when it comes to how to market a game. Every game is going to market their game differently, but generally speaking, in the gaming industry, it's usually about the 3 to 6 month period before the game actually launches that they generally start to, I guess, send it on the marketing. So that's when they release the trailers, they release gameplay, they do interviews with companies like Kotaku and IGN, for example, and then, like I said, stuff with the press kit. That is generally when they start doing that type of stuff. Usually there'll be like a big reveal earlier on, which, like I said, that was kind of what I thought the initial reveal was, but then they just followed it up with 10 minutes of gameplay and all that stuff that I just went through. And as I've mentioned, that is kind of the same behavior that you would expect when the game is 3 to 6 months away. It's obviously a different company, but when you look at a game like Jedi Survivor, they really started to ramp up the proper marketing for that game in essentially the beginning of this year, which would mean it was about 3 months before the game came out, maybe 4 months because it was obviously delayed, that they started doing that sort of thing where they were doing interviews, they were releasing gameplay, they were flying people out to LA to play the game early and stuff like that. That is the time period that is generally expected. They weren't doing that in 18 months before Survivor came out. That's just not how the marketing for that game went. And like I said, that is generally not how it goes for pretty much any game out there. There's always outliers, of course, but generally following the industry standard, that is just not really how it goes. All of this makes me think the game could actually really potentially launch in early 2024 instead of late 2024. My guess with the, September, October, November timeframe, that is just a guess. There was no reason for me to say that was definitely going to happen. I just generally think when a game gets announced, I kind kind of go, okay, it's probably going to be late in that year. That's just how I generally think about it. But everything that they've done since they revealed the game has slowly made me start to think the game could potentially be launching in early 2024 instead. Now, early 2024 could be like May. That's not that early in the year. That's nearly halfway through. So it's not like it's going to be January or February or something like that. Now, that could be the case. But when I say early, I essentially just mean the first half of the year compared to what I would think the normal time frame would be in later in the year, like I said. I feel like we have definitely seen a bit of a shift in the gaming industry in this sense as well. It used to feel like every big game was launching in September, October, November every single year. And although most of them still do launch at that time of the year, you look at especially a lot of the multiplayer games, Call of Duty, FIFA, all of those sorts of games, they launch later in the year. That's just where their time frame lies every single time. But I feel like with a lot of the big AAA single player games, they haven't really stuck to that as much as they used to. Even just this year, we've seen that Jedi Survivor and a game like Zelda, they launched earlier on in the year. Zelda is like in contention for Game of the Year, and that was just launching earlier in the year. They didn't stick to that general, later half of the year that most games used to do in the past. So I feel like there has definitely been a shift, and maybe I need to stop thinking that games are going to launch later in the year, because realistically, especially looking at the way that Outlaws has gone with their marketing so far, there is a really good chance the game is actually going to launch early next year instead. There are plenty of places for them to show off a lot more news as well in terms of later this year and even early next year, depending on when the game would be launching. Even just later this year, we've obviously still got the Game Awards, and although the Game Awards is obviously for Game of the Year and stuff like that, they do show a hell of a lot of new games. They show trailers, they reveal new games. Hell, even Xbox revealed a brand new console one year at the Game Awards. So there is a good chance that maybe if the game is launching in, say, May, even maybe earlier than that, March or April or something, we could potentially start to get proper marketing push starting in maybe December at the Game Awards, where we're getting another trailer, and then, maybe early next year we get another trailer and another gameplay showcase and stuff like that. There is definitely plenty of places for them to show off more news on the game. However, like I said, they've actually done a really good job of that so far, and it's been done a lot earlier than I expected. Either way, I'm keen to hear your thoughts, whether you guys think the game will be launching in late 2024, or whether you are starting to think like me, where I've kind of changed my mind on it and I'm starting to think it could potentially be early 2024 instead. Obviously, keep in mind, I have absolutely no idea, and you're going to take all of this with a grain of salt. It could launch in January, it could launch in December. There is literally just no way to tell. But regardless, I am very keen to hear your thoughts. So be sure to let me know down in the comment section. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the force be with you always.